Hello students, welcome back to Programming in C language. Myself Sreekanth. We are discussed in the previous video sessions up to what? Computer fundamentals. So in this session, we are started for discussing about program fundamentals. Okay, agenda of this session: what is software, need of software, what are the different types of softwares, and hardware, what is hardware, and hardware components and its uses with suitable examples. See, already I given some basic knowledge about what is software, what is hardware in the beginning sessions of computer fundamentals. But in this session, I will give much clarity over software and hardware components. Okay, softwares and hardware components. Fine. What is a software? See, software is a set of computer programs that provides the instruction to the computer for what to do and how to do. In other words, simply, software is a set of programs which is designed to perform a well-defined task. A program is a sequence of instructions written to solve a particular problem. See, what is software? Software simply tells about set of computer programs that provides the instructions to the computer for what to do and how to do. Here, what is program? Program is nothing but what? Is a sequence of instructions written to solve a particular problem. Okay. See, software is an intangible components of the computer system. So intangible components means those components are parts which we cannot touch physically. So in simple terms, we can say that all those computer applications or programs which run behind the monitor screens are known as software. Okay, best suitable examples like what we are using daily using the software applications like Microsoft Windows operating systems like Notepad, TextPad, like Notepads is there, Notepad plus plus, Edit plus, like MS Office tools like Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, like Windows Media Players, antiviruses, MP3 players, MP4 players. All these are all what various applications we are using as a software in the computer. Okay, here you need to remember the 2 points. What the main intention for software, it is telling to the instruction to the computer for what to do and how to do. Here program is nothing but is a sequence of instructions written to solve a particular problem. Coming to history, an outline algorithm. Okay, so what is algorithm? Is a step-by-step instructions. We'll discuss in the coming sessions. We'll discuss about in detail what is algorithm, different types of algorithm, stating and representation of algorithms. We'll discuss in the next coming sessions. For what would have been the first piece of software was written by what? Ada Lovelace in the 19th century. See, for the planned analytical engine, she created some proofs to show how engine would calculate Bernoulli numbers. See, because of the proofs and the algorithms, she is considered the first computer programmer. Who is that? Ada Lovelace in 19th century. The first theory about software prior to the creation of computers as we know them today was proposed by what? Alan Turing in his 1935 essay on what? Computable numbers with an application to the decision problem. So this is a basic history about software. Here software is nothing but what? A collection of instructions and data that tells the computer like how to work. The main intention, what to do and how to do. That is done by what? Software. Okay. Software is what? Intangible components. Here intangible components means what? Those components are parts which we cannot touch physically. So that is about what? Software. Okay. Several softwares are given examples like TextPad softwares are there, MP3 softwares are there, MP4 softwares are there, antiviruses are there, several programming related softwares are there. Okay, like multimedia related softwares are there. Several softwares are we are using in every day in our computer environment. Okay, fine. Softwares later obtained as like shareware, lightware, freeware, like public domain softwares, like open source softwares, commercial softwares, and malicious softwares or malwares. Here, what is shareware? Shareware usually intended for what? Sale after a trial period. See, some softwares, when you are downloading or when you are purchasing, it has named with the terminologies these names. Okay, shareware is nothing but usually intended for sale after a trial period. Such type of softwares are called shareware softwares. Lightware softwares, shareware with some capabilities disabled, that is called lightware softwares. Freeware softwares, free softwares but with copyright restrictions. Public domain softwares, free with what? No restrictions. Open source softwares, like software whose source code is available for what? Modification or enhanced by what? Anyone. See, the term open source software, also called OSS, open source software, it refers to what? Publicly accessible computer software with its source code that can be modified and shared. Here source code means what? End user, we are writing some instructions in a high level languages, generally we may call source code. The source code in OSS is made available for modification or enhanced by what? Anyone. See, this is about what? Open source. OSS is typically created as a collaborative effort in which developers from various organizations come together to improve the program that the companies collectively need. The programmers develop, test, and improve upon the code and share the changes with others, ensuring an open future collaboration. Okay, see, these open source softwares can be summarized like freedom to use open source software for any purpose, like anyone, anywhere, anyhow. Freedom to make copies of open source softwares and to distribute them. Freedom to create derivative work of open source software and to distribute them. Freedom to access and use the source code of open source software. Freedom to combine open source and other softwares. So when you are want to developing any applications or when you are using some softwares for project level, okay, first give the priority for what? Open source softwares, because it is freedom to use for what? Several like open source softwares for any purpose, anyone, anywhere, and anyhow. The main features of open source software is like it offers practical accessibility to source code for its design, development, and distribution. See, it is developed by what? Collaborating programmers. Since the software is peer reviewed by community of what? Developers, it offers better quality and a higher reliability. It offers what? Better quality at what? Lower cost. The open source product is generally supported by many companies through forum, mailing list, frequent asked questions like FAQs, and online documentations. Some security problems tend to be discovered quickly because the code is like by peer developers. Okay, some examples like Ubuntu is a one software, Linux based software is a popular open source computer operating systems. Okay, the open source softwares like Ubuntu is a Linux based operating system. Android is a popular mobile based operating system. Like PHP, Perl, and Python are general purpose programming language open source softwares. Like LibreOffice is an example of what? Open source office suite. Mozilla Firefox is a popular open source web browser. MySQL is a popular open source database softwares. So these are all what? Various open source softwares. Okay. Next, public domain software is nothing but what? Free with what? No restrictions. Public domain software is software that has been placed in the public domain. Simply, there is absolutely no ownership, such as a copyright, trademark, or patent. Such software has no editing restrictions associated with it. It can be publicly modified, distributed, or sold without any restrictions. Some commonly used public domain softwares are like SQLite, okay, database related software, like Glitch and ImageJ. Several open public domain softwares are available in the market. Open source license are legal license to use the code under the conditions specified in the license. Public domain means you are giving up your right to the copyright of the code, and it can be used in any way. Like there are no license terms to follow for public domain softwares. So this is about open source softwares and public domain softwares. So if when you are using any kind of softwares, kindly check it out this what type of softwares you are using, whether it is a shareware, lightware, freeware, open source, public domain softwares, or commercial softwares. Here commercial softwares is it is designed and developed for what? Licensing or specifically for sale to serve a commercial need. Such type of softwares are called commercial softwares. Here commercial softwares refers to any software that is designed and developed for what? Licensing or specifically for what? Sale to serve a commercial need. The Microsoft products such as the Windows operating system, MS Office are some of the most well-known examples of what? Commercial softwares. Okay, like Photoshop, Corel Draw, Dreamweaver, so on, etc. These are all some examples of what? Commercial softwares. See, these commercial softwares was once considered to be like appropriate software, but now a number of free and open source software applications are licensed or sold to what? End users. See, off the shelf software programs such as games, those sold in what? Computer specialty stores or even music stores and grocery stores are some examples of what? Commercial softwares. Okay, see these developing commercial softwares will always be the what? Profit with it. Some advantages of commercial softwares like easy to obtain, designed for specific tasks, easy to use interfaces, greater compatibilities. Some disadvantages like mostly platform dependent, difficult to modify, it cannot be copied, restrictions for use, redistribution is not possible, high cost, technical support required, some proprietary softwares. So this is the difference between what? Open source softwares and commercial softwares and public domain softwares. See, some free and freeware softwares are there. Okay, freeware means what? Free software, but with what? Copyright restrictions. So this a free software means software that respects users freedom and community. Roughly it means that the user have the freedom to run, copy, distribute, study, change and improve the software. Free software is a matter of what? Liberty, not price. Okay, see, a program is free software. Okay, if the programmers users have the four different essential freedoms like freedom to run the program as you like for any purpose, freedom to study how the program works and change it as per your requirement, freedom to redistribute copies so you can help others, freedom to distribute copies of your modified versions to others. So these are all what? The freeware. Okay, see this freeware refers to any software that you can use without inquiring any cost, unlike open source softwares and free software. Freeware offers what? Minimal freedom to the end user. So it can be used free of charge. Often modification, redistribution, other improvements cannot be done without getting what? Permission for the authors. So this is about what? Some commonly used freeware softwares are like Skype, Adobe Acrobat readers. See, programs are free to use. Their source codes are unavailable to the public domains. So this is about what? Freeware softwares, public domain softwares, open source softwares, commercial softwares, and shareware softwares and lightware softwares. Some softwares like malicious softwares or malware. See, which is software that is developed to harm and disrupt computers. As such, malware is what? Undesirable. Malware is closely associated with what? Computer related crimes. There these softwares are going to be used. Okay, see, be careful about these malwares and malicious softwares. See, these are all what? Various types of softwares available in the market. Okay, generally these softwares are categorized by what? two different types of softwares like system softwares, application softwares. Like system softwares like what? Operating system, utility softwares, and language translators. So these application softwares again categorized by what? Pre-written application softwares, customized application softwares, general purpose application softwares, and special purpose application softwares. So I try to explain in detail in the next coming sessions about different types of softwares like system software, application software, what is system software, like that. Okay. Then what is the need of software here? Software enables the user to interact with a computer. It's a hardware or perform some task. Without software, computers would be what? Useless. See, I given various examples in the previous video sessions also. So if you are purchased a new computer, but there is no software, that is useless, right? See, without a software there is no any use of what? Hardware components. Here software is mandatory to run that hardware components, and it enables to communicate with what? End users to access various system softwares and application softwares. Okay, see that much of importance of what? Softwares in what? Computer environment. Okay, see these system softwares, application softwares I will explain elaborately in the coming sessions. Fine. So next I go through what? Hardware. See what is hardware? It represents what? Physical and tangible components of what? Computer. Okay. See what is hardware here? Hardware is nothing but it represents what? Physical and tangible components of what? Computer. See, the components that can be seen and touched. The term hardware is used to refer to all the physical components inside or outside the computer. Best examples, like in the previous video session we discussed several input devices, output devices, and also processor, right? CPU, central process unit, and system unit like cabinet. See, these are all what? Suitable examples of what? Hardware, like motherboard, monitors, different types of monitors we discussed, right? Like input devices like keyboard, mouse, some output devices like speakers, monitors, printers, scanners, and some more hard disk, CDs, DVDs. See, these are all what? Best examples for what? Hardware components. Okay, coming to the different types of hardware, majorly it categorized like input devices, processing devices, output devices, and storage devices. So input devices, the hardware that is used to supply input to the computer is called as input device. The best examples like keyboard and mouse, very frequently we are using with the computers, digital computers, right? So we discussed several input devices, but you need to remember at least these two, like input devices, like familiar uses of input devices like keyboard and mouse. Processing devices like the hardware that is used to process the data is called as processing device. Best examples like CPU, central processing unit. So in the previous video session explained in detail about what is processor, what are the different types of processor, functioning of processors, how it communicating with the processing unit to this control unit and ALU and input unit, output unit. So I elaborately explained. If you missed the session, kindly go through that previous video sessions about these input devices, processing devices, output devices, and storage devices. Okay, output device is nothing but what? The hardware that is used to present output of the computer is called as what? Output device. Best examples like hard copy and soft copy. Soft copy we discussed like monitors and speakers. Like hard copies, best examples like printers we discussed, right? And storage devices like the hardware that is used to store input or output in the computers is called what? Storage device. Best examples like memory management I explained in detail, right? Like primary memories, secondary memories I explained in detail about, like RAM, different types of RAMs, primary memories like ROMs, virtual memories, cache memories, secondary memories like a hard disk, magnetic disk, solid state storages, compact disk like CD, DVDs, solid state storages like pen drives. So this is about what? hardware. So in the computer environment, it required both software and hardware is mandatory for working of any kind of application developments or application users. Okay, remember this point. See, I try to explain some idea about what is motherboard. See, we discussed several hardware components, right? Almost I covered all the hardware components except what motherboard. Just I explained what is motherboard. Here, I provide some brief explanation about what is motherboard here. See, a motherboard also called what? Main board, main circuit board, system board, base board, planner board, logical board, or MOBO. See, these many names we may call it about what? Motherboard. Is the main printed circuit board, PCB. Okay, printed circuit board in general purpose computers and other expandable systems. Sir, why the name came called motherboard? Mother. See how much importance we are giving for mother, right? See, mother is nothing but what? Mother of all components attached to it. Okay, see that is the name. Mother is came for this board, motherboard, because it is going to be all the components attached to it, like peripheral devices, interface cards, sound cards, video cards, network cards, like host bus adapters, TV tuner cards, like some IEEE, some version cards, and a variety of other custom components, like several input devices, output devices. See, it is going to be connected with the help of what? These motherboard only. See, motherboard is like behaves like what? Main circuit board of what? Computer. Okay, what it does, it holds and allows communication between what? Many of the crucial electronic components of a system, like CPU, central processing unit, and memory, and provides what? Connectors of what? Other peripherals. See, a motherboard usually contains what? Significant subsystems such as the central processor, the chipsets like input, outputs, and memory controls, interface connectors, and other components integrated for what? General use. Simply you can remember whatever the hardware components we are using, those are all attached to what? These main board called motherboard. Okay. See, this motherboard is generally a what? Thin circuit board that holds together almost all parts of a computer except what? Some input and output devices. See, all crucial hardwares like CPU, memory, hard drives, and ports for what? Input and output devices are located on the motherboard. So it is the biggest circuit board in what? Computer. Okay. So you can go with here some examples like micro ATX. See, this is the motherboard generally used in for what? PCs. Dell Precision, some version. CAD workstations, there it is used. Some type of motherboard like Octec Jaguar V motherboard. 1993 they released. Samsung Galaxy S2 motherboard. ATX motherboards like Advanced Technology Extended, released in 1995. On that, different versions like Standard ATX, Micro ATX, Mini ITX, Nano ITX, Pico ITX, like latest like in around 2004 like BTX motherboards, like balanced technology extended motherboards. These are all various types motherboards are available in the market with different companies. Okay, so observe here, motherboard is looks like this. Okay, see, this is about motherboard. This is the main board of the computer. So if you just open that cabinet or system unit, so internally it is going to be integrated. This motherboard is going to be attached to this system unit. See, from externally, with the help of these peripheral devices, you can able to see these are all peripheral devices, like say network cable we can connect here. Okay, like USB ports are there, like VGA cables are there, HDMI cables are there, like these are all what? Input output peripheral devices we can connect. See, with the help of this cabinet we are going to be connected to the motherboard. This motherboard internally it is attached to the system unit. So this is about CMOS backup battery, PCI slots like south bridge, AGP slot, north bridge, like IDE, DRAM slots, ATX power. See, these are all what? Motherboard. Here the processor is there. Okay, like RAM slots are there. We can able to place the RAM, random access memories. See, this is about what? Motherboard. Okay, so you can able to see in detail explanation here. This is about BIOS flash chip in PLCC socket. Like south bridge, north bridge, like two bridges are there here with okay, south bridge is there, okay, with something CMOS backup battery, integrated graph processor, okay, PCI slot X3, integrated audio code chip, integrated gigabit ethernet chip, PCI express slot. Okay, this is about connectors of what? Integrated peripherals like PS2 keyboards, mouse, serial ports, parallel port, VGA, Firewire, and USB ports, Ethernet, audio. These are all what? Peripheral connectors. Like a CPU socket. Here we are going to be placed this processor. Okay, like a CPU fan and heat sink monitors. To cool that processor, they are going to be using some internally sinkers and fan. CPU fan connectors. Okay, like memory slots. Here this is using like memory slots, like super IO chips, like memories like RAM slots. Simply you can write RAM slots, like 24 pin ATX power connectors, floppy drive connectors, okay, like SATA connectors, like hard disk, right? SATA, IDE connectors, like these are all what? Various connectors to the motherboard. Okay, see, I explained just only about standard ATX, like used in workstations and desktop computers, like Intel around 1995 they are going to be released with different dimensions, like micro ATX, like small form factors they are used, mini ATX like VI around 2001 used for what? Small form factors, nano ATX, pico ATX, mobile ITX. So these are all what? Various motherboards are available in the market. Okay, see, if you want the more explanation about these motherboard functioning, slots, how it is going to be working, we'll discuss in what? Hardware concepts. Okay, here I'm giving the basic idea and knowledge about what is motherboard. See, what are the components and how it is going to be connected through what? Various input output peripheral devices of the computer. Okay, fine. See, here we try to discuss some basic components of a computer, like CPU slot. It is provided to install the CPU. It is a link between a microprocessor and a motherboard. It facilitates the use of CPU and prevents the damage when it is installed or removed. So it is provided with a lock to prevent CPU movement and heat sink to what? Dissipate the extra heat. That's what they are using, what? CPU slot. RAM slot, random access memory. So it is a memory slot or socket provided in motherboard to insert or install the RAM chips. We discussed, right? 2 GB RAM, 1 GB RAM, 4 GB RAM, 8 GB RAM. Based on the motherboard capacity, we can like place the type of motherboard. Like it comes with the different configurations. All motherboards not with the same. But like some gaming motherboards have different capacities. Like general usage motherboards are there, office users motherboards are there. Like based on the type of motherboard, we can able to place the RAM chips. Okay, so there can be what? 2 or more memory slots in a computer. Like expansion slot, it is also called the bus slot or expansion port. So it is a connection port on the motherboard which provides an installation point to connect a hardware expansion card. Like example, you can purchase a video expansion card and install it into the expansion slot, and they can install a new video card in the computer. Like some common expansion slots in a computers like AGP, AMR, CNR, PCI, so on. These are all what? Various expansion slots in the motherboard. Like capacitors, it is made up of two conductive plates and a thin insulator sandwiched between them. These parts are wrapped in what? Plastic container. Like inductor coil, it is an electromagnetic coil made of an conducting wire wrapped around an iron core. It acts as an inductor or electromagnetic to store magnetic energy. Like north bridge, so it is an integrated circuit that allows communication between the CPU interface, AGP, and memory. So it also allows the south bridge chip to communicate with the RAM, CPU, and graphics controller. Okay, so USB port, it allows you to connect what? Hardware devices like mouse, keyboard to your computer. PCI slots, it stands for what? Peripheral components interconnect slot. It allows you to connect the PCI devices like modems, network hardware, sound, and video cards. Like AGP slots, it stands for what? Accelerated graphic port. It provides a slot to connect graphic cards. See, for especially when user using what user is using for like playing games or developing multimedia applications, there these graphic cards are necessary. Okay, next, heat sink. It absorbs and displaces what the heat generated in the computer processor to maintain what like constant temperature of the processor. This processor generates more heat. Okay, so due to that it damages what other components of the motherboard circuit. For avoidance that, they are going to be using some sinkers and fan above the processor to maintain what constant temperature of the particular processor. Power connectors, it is designed to supply what power to the motherboard, helps to pass the power to what various components and circuits to the motherboard. Cmos battery, it stands for what complementary metal oxide semiconductor. So it is a memory that stores BIOS settings such as time, date, and hardware settings. If that CMOS battery got any kind of damage or it is not working, then your date and time, you need to keep on settings the date and time. It was not functioning properly, date and time settings. That time we can observe, okay, the CMOS battery got some problem. That's what these date and time getting some problem. It is not able to set properly in our computer environment. So this is about what motherboard. Okay, and we discussed in detail in this session about what is software, what are the different types of softwares, and softwares is obtained in the different terminologies in what the market, like shareware, lightware, freeware, public domain softwares, open source, commercial softwares, and malicious softwares or malwares. Here you need to remember one more point here, simply virus. Okay, see, what is the abbreviation of virus? Vital like immuno or information resource under SEAS. So is a malicious program or piece of code that is loaded onto your computer, so without your knowledge, and runs against your wishes. Okay, simply you can remember it damages what some files and folders or operating system related files are going to be damaged or corrupted using this virus. A computer virus might corrupt or delete data on a computer. See, these viruses can also replicate themselves. Even such a simple virus is dangerous because it will quickly use all available memories and bring the system to a halt. And even more dangerous type of viruses is one capable of transmitting itself across networks and bypassing what security systems, like computer programs taking what longer to load than normal. So you can feel it when the virus is attacked to your computer. Okay, that time computer programs taking what longer to load than normal, the computer is slower than normal, computer stops responding or freezes frequently, computer crashes and restarts every few minutes, the computer does not run as usual, applications on the computers do not work correctly, disks or disk drivers are what inaccessible, like printing items is difficult, error messages appears rapidly, like menus and dialog boxes is going to be like disordered, antivirus programs get disabled for no reason and cannot be restarted, these antivirus programs will not start and new programs cannot be installed, like strange sounds play from the speakers unexpectedly, programs disappear from the computers. These are all the several problems when virus is going to be like there in our machines. Okay, like different types of viruses are there, like resident virus, boot virus, direct action viruses, like overwrite viruses, directory viruses, like file infectors, fat virus, worms. Okay, Trojan or horses. These are all what spyware. These are all what various different types of viruses are there in the market. Okay, they are going to be damage our computer, especially with what corrupts what files and directories, and it slow downs our computer processing speed. Okay, see, you should aware about these viruses also. Okay, so this is about the today's session. We discussed in detail about what is software, need of softwares, types of softwares, hardware, and also we discussed some hardware components, users, and examples. Okay, fine. See, in the next coming session we'll discuss in detail about different types of softwares like system softwares, application softwares in detail. Okay, yeah, that's it for the session. Yeah, thank you for watching my videos. Thank you all.